Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behavior of a Cavoodle puppy. So if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, welcome back to episode 21 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast rebooted. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host. Today's episode is coming out a little bit later in the day just because I have been flat out with my puppies at the moment. I have 2 litters of Cavoodles, 6 puppies in total, and they are now 7 weeks old, so it's getting quite full on. But I also was busy because I was officially choosing which puppy I am keeping to join my family, which was honestly such a big decision and such a long process to arrive at that decision. So today I thought, what better episode to do than talk about what temperament traits I was looking out for in my Cavoodle puppy and what made me pick him or her. So let's get started. Now, to put this into context, for my breeding program, what I do is I actually don't allow any of my litter families to pick their puppies until they are between 6 and 7 weeks of age, and I have done their puppy evaluations. And these puppy evaluations are pretty much temperament tests to give us some ideas on what temperament traits the puppies have, what sort of training they'll need going forward, and what sort of lifestyle will suit them best. And the reason why this is so important is when you match a puppy's personality with a particular lifestyle, it means it's going to be the most seamless transition into the family, and the family is going to be getting exactly what they're wanting out of a dog. Whereas if you don't look at the temperament traits of the puppy and you don't match it to the family's lifestyle, that's when there can be some conflict, and that's when it can be a lot harder to raise a puppy. So I did the evaluations on my puppies on Monday, which was yesterday, and then I had to spend the whole day writing up the reports and the evaluations, and then I had to sit down with my partner Xander, and together we had to pick our puppy. And I thought going into this litter that honestly I would have picked my puppy a lot earlier, but it literally took up until these evaluations for me to make my decision because I was so conflicted over which puppy I wanted because they were all showing so many traits that I would really love in a puppy and would fit into my lifestyle. So let's just jump right into it. So we had 3 evaluations for 3 puppies. The first puppy that we evaluated her name is Monica, temporarily Monica. And when we did the evaluations, we put her through a variety of tests in an unfamiliar environment. So we brought her upstairs to a room she's never been in. And what we started to do is we started to put her into the area, see how she initially reacted, see how she interacted with me, and then I slowly would introduce different toys and different obstacle equipment to see how she engages with play and challenges. And then I also brought in some different equipment that would startle her, such as popping open an umbrella, ringing a bell, and then I have this talking elephant that honestly is really quite funny, and it's about twice the size of the puppies, and it sings and it dances. So I also bring that in, and then to wrap up the evaluation test, what I also do is I test how their handling is, so whether they enjoy it, how compliant they are with it. And then finally, the last part of the evaluation test is we actually want to test how the puppies handle sudden outbursts of emotion, like as in big outbursts. So I actually fall to the ground crying out very loudly, and we see how the puppies react. And this is a really good indication to see whether a puppy is going to be well suited to a family with kids versus not, because obviously kids can do some unexpected outbursts sometimes, and if we have a puppy who really crumbles under this emotion being expressed, that's not going to be a good match. So that's how the evaluation test works. And for Monica, this is a summary of what we gathered. Number one, she is very, very human focused. And what this means is she sees you, the human, and she wants to interact with you and she wants your attention. So she was so enthusiastic to follow my direction with the play, to run over all of the obstacle equipment, to engage in any way that she can. And she wanted to be at my feet following me. And this is a really nice trait for a family who is looking for a dog who is going to be very attentive during the training sessions, who's going to want to train, and also for families who really want to involve their puppy in every single aspect of their lifestyle. On the flip side though, something to be aware of with puppies who do have such a high human focus is they are also more prone to suffering separation anxiety, because what can happen is they become so attached and so reliant on their family to entertain them, include them in their life, that when that family isn't home, the puppy can really just start to suffer. And if they don't learn how to entertain themselves and how to feel comfortable on their own, that's when that separation anxiety forms. So for Monica, she really does suit a family who wants to involve their puppy, but also equally one who is prepared to make sure she has time alone each day so that we can practice that separation anxiety prevention training. She also, in terms of her startle recovery, so how much she startled to the elephant and the umbrella and the bell ringing, she did really, really well. She startled and recovered quite well. But by the time we got to the end of the test and we had stacked quite a few startles up upon each other, that's when she started to show some stress signs. And that's just an indication that the new family should be trying to practice the different startle recoveries each day so she can increase her nerve strength and just respond better in environments that can be stressful, so that she gets really, really confident within herself and doesn't suffer any anxiety when she's out in public, for example. So she is a wonderful, wonderful puppy. She's super cuddly, and that's because she wants your attention, and she's going to be such a good companion for someone who wants a dog who's looks to them for direction and looks at them with so much love and enthusiasm. So that was Monica's evaluation. Such a sweetie. She actually reminds me so much of her mum, Chelsea, and Chelsea just loves human attention and she'll do anything for it. So they remind me of each other quite a lot. The next test we did was for the second puppy, Chandler. Now you might be seeing a bit of a theme here. These litters were named after the Friends characters. So Monica, Chandler, Joey, Rachel and Phoebe. Just because myself and my partner Xander, we've been watching Friends since the beginning of these litters, and we are at season 10 right now, which is coincidentally, a week and a half before these puppies go home. So we've been watching it the whole time. Anyway, back to Chandler. So Chandler came into the testing area and her personality was slightly different to Monica's, her sister Monica's. So, Chandler's a girl, by the way, I will say that. So Chandler, she followed direction from me. So she would engage in the toys. She would follow my direction over the obstacle course equipment, but it wasn't with that same enthusiasm that her sister had. And there were many times when she would get distracted and go follow her own curiosities somewhere else in the testing area. So what this shows us is that her human focus isn't as high as her sister's. And what this means is she is a bit more of an independent soul, and she's going to suit a family who wants that flexibility where the dog is happy with them and then happy without them. And this sort of dog, this sort of puppy can be more suited to families who aren't home as much. Maybe they're at work a lot of the day and they can't have their puppy with them at work. A dog who's more independent definitely suits that, whereas one who is really, really highly human focused and really focuses on their humans, they don't do well when the family's out 9 to 5 every single day. So Chandler has that bit of an independent streak. She's a very curious dog and she's very confident and she's very happy to go explore herself without needing that reassurance from her family that everything's okay. So that's a really wonderful trait to have for Cavoodles, especially when we're trying to make sure they don't develop any anxiety down the track. She was also very much on par with her sister for that startle recovery. So she startled at the elephant, startled at the umbrella, and then by the end of the test, her stress started to stack up, and she did show some stress signs, which again just means the families have to practice more with the puppy to teach her to, handle stress and then be able to overcome it and not feel anxiety or stress or fear in situations that can be a little bit more full on. Now I forgot to mention this for Monica. Monica, when I fell to the ground having to scream out crying, so embarrassing to do, but when I did that, she ran away a bit and then she was frozen in place. So that suggests she wouldn't necessarily do very well in a family with young children, and she'd probably be more suited to a family who doesn't have those sudden loud outbursts of emotion, and that was the same with Chandler's reaction. So that's the evaluation results from Chandler versus Monica. Now moving on to puppy number 3, and this is the final puppy that we did the evaluation for. The next 3 evaluations are going to be happening at the end of the week because these puppies are 5 days younger. But the last evaluation was for a little boy called Joey. And Joey, over the past couple of weeks, something I have been noticing with him in particular was in situations that new people came over to visit or he was in an environment he hasn't been in before, he was showing a lot of fear. And I saw this happening and I could see a trend happening here, and it was confirmed in the evaluation test because when we brought him upstairs to do his evaluation and we put him in the testing area that he's never been in, he actually sat there frozen, very, very scared, very, very fearful. Now, what this just means is that he is going to need a little bit more work to build that confidence within himself so that he doesn't succumb to any anxiety in the future. And this is a really good thing to note when you're going to have a puppy. If they're already susceptible to that anxiety and that fear, if you were to throw him into a situation that was too much too soon, he can very much form a negative association with whatever he's being exposed to, and that can cause a lot of fear and even reactiveness down the track. And that's what I see happening with a lot of Cavoodles, and why a lot of Cavoodles can be reactive. It's because if they were young and they were already fearful, the owners weren't aware of this and they weren't aware of how to train it properly and properly socialize them with that fear already there, so that we can decrease that fear and no negative associations are formed. And instead, if a family doesn't know all this and they throw the puppy into these situations, or they don't socialize their puppy, that's when that puppy's anxiety, develops even deeper. The habit forms, it becomes very much rooted in the puppy, and the reactiveness in the Cavoodle forms, and that separation anxiety, the social anxiety, and all of those behavioral issues no one wants to see. So I saw that for Joey's evaluation test, and what we actually ended up doing was doing a second evaluation test with him later on that day, just to see if we could work past that fear and we can start to see his personality traits underneath this. Because it's important to remember that the puppies who have that fear innately in them, underneath that fear, we have an entire personality to uncover. So I really wanted to get to see that in this evaluation so that we could make a proper report on him, so that the families can understand, once we can work past this fear with training, this is the type of dog we're going to see. So what I did with him is I brought him into the testing area for a second time, and I really, really slowed it down, and I spent a lot of time building trust with him. So I think in total it was about 6 minutes where I was speaking very, very softly to him, slowly engaging some play with him, making him feel a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, no loud voices. I didn't jump straight into anything. And over that 6 minutes, very, very slowly, he started to gain that confidence and he started to come out of his shell a little bit. And by the end of that 6 minutes, he actually came over to me. His tail went up. He started wagging his tail. And then he was actually starting to seek connection and he started to engage in play. And so this was such a special moment to see, because when a dog, decides to trust you and they put their faith in you, that connection, that moment, there's just nothing like it. So he came over to me and he showed me he trusts me. He actually put his little paw on my face, and it was the sweetest thing. And then from then we were able to go through the evaluation test as normal. And what he showed was he does love to follow my direction. He played with the toys. He went over the obstacle equipment. At times he got distracted and walked away, but otherwise he did come over and seek some connection with me as well. And when we actually brought out the different pieces of equipment to test his startle reflex, so the elephant, the umbrella, and the bell, surprisingly, he actually did really, really well. He actually did the best out of his siblings, and he barely startled, and he was able to cope really, really well with that. And that was really amazing to see, because it means once he's in an environment that he feels comfortable in and he feels confident in, he actually has the traits to be a really stable, very much well-rounded dog, which was really great to see. In terms of his human focus, it was pretty much smack bang in the middle of Monica and Chandler. So he did love the human attention, but also was happy by himself. And then at the end of the test, when we did that moment when we tested how he reacted when I screamed out crying and fell to the floor, in the second test, he actually came right over and he nuzzled into my neck, which means that he does feel my emotion and he wants to come and comfort me. And dogs like that, you don't want to place dogs like that in homes where there is already a lot of anxiety, because that can also cause the puppy to crumble under all that pressure of having to try and comfort all these people feeling anxious or all these big emotions. So he also very much would suit a home where the emotions are more stable. We don't have sudden outbursts of emotions every day, and there's not too much anxiety in the house, because all of those traits would obviously increase his own anxiety, and that's not going to help him get over that initial fear that he has in new environments. So those were the 3 evaluation results. And as I'm sure you can hear from the way that I'm talking, the puppy that I have ended up picking to bring into my family with Xander is Joey. And I feel such a sense of ease and relief on my decision. I've been stressing about it so much. I honestly haven't been sleeping. But now that the decision is made, when I had that moment of connection with Joey, when he decided to trust me and he put his paw on my face, I knew in my heart that this is the little puppy for me. And I'm so excited to go on this training journey with him, because obviously the reason why, if you don't know this, the reason why I'm keeping a puppy is because I'm creating a new program, which is going to be essentially a daily schedule planner for new Cavoodles for families to follow. So it will say each day what to do with your puppy in terms of training, socializing, desensitizing, impulse control training, enrichment, sleep, food, all of that sort of stuff each day, so that a family can follow it and they can make sure, or they can feel confident knowing that they've set their puppy up for success, and that their puppy is going to have the smallest chances possible of forming any anxiety, because they've done the proper work with a Cavoodle puppy early on, because Cavoodles are prone to anxiety, and if we don't do the right socializing and desensitizing when they're young, that anxiety can definitely form. So that's why I'm keeping a puppy, so that I can use the puppy to document my daily schedule with them, and obviously film all of this with the puppy too. And so it feels really good to have Joey to take on this program journey, because there are so many Cavoodles who naturally have that anxiety, especially if they haven't come from a breeder who hasn't done any sort of curriculum with them. And so it's really good to have Joey here so that I can document how I get past that initial fear, build up his confidence so that he can start going out in public and in these unfamiliar places and not feel all that anxiety and that stress, and instead he can just be very confident within himself. So I'm really excited. I think it's a really, really valuable opportunity to be able to help you even further, because if you are getting a Cavoodle, we definitely want to make sure that that anxiety, any anxiety they're feeling, we overcome it as quickly as possible, and we do the right socializing and desensitizing with them to shape them into a very calm, relaxed, well-rounded dog who complements your lifestyle and doesn't complicate it, as I always say. So I believe that should be the end of the episode. I've been talking for almost 20 minutes, but that is how I picked my newest Cavoodle and the temperament traits I looked for. I really personally wanted a dog who was happy to be with me, but happy by themselves. And I wanted a dog who was lower energy and wasn't necessarily fully reliant on my attention, just because as a family, I really value that out of my dog Nessie. I love that she is very much a bit independent, and I love that about her, and it suits our lifestyle well. So I was looking for that, and it was really good that Joey was the perfect mix between his siblings, which is so exciting. So that's it for this episode. What I'm thinking of doing is, when I do the evaluations at the end of the week for the other 3 puppies, I'll record another episode talking about the temperament traits we saw in those puppies. And I really hope this can give you, as the listener, an idea of the different personalities you can see in a puppy as early as 6 weeks of age, and why it's so important that when you are getting a Cavoodle puppy, don't just pick a puppy based on their gender or based on their looks. It's really important that you actually go through a breeder who does some sort of temperament testing so that you can match your lifestyle to the puppy's temperament, because a puppy is born with a list of temperament traits that they're born with, and it will not change over time. And then there is a list of traits, such as their confidence, that you can adjust with training. And it's really just important to make sure that you as a family aren't getting a dog who isn't going to match the lifestyle that you have, because that is a recipe for disaster. Okay, that's all I have to say today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have, jump over to Instagram and say hello and let me know if you think I made the right decision for a puppy. Because I would love to hear what you think, or I would love to hear which puppy you would pick for your family. My Instagram handle is just @OodleWay. So you can go over there, send me a DM, tell me which puppy you would have picked. I would love to know. And I will see you in the next episode next week. This has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamayas. See you later.